So walk us through a project from land acquisition to CMHC exit and eventually property management.
Wow, uh, that's in a few short sentences. I'll do the quick notes version, the Coles notes version. Essentially, when I look for property, I look for the opportunity somebody else missed. So I spend years looking at where a city might grow and properties that are in that path that are clearly not zoned. And then I pick up the property. I go and usually try and buy them on private sales. I don't try and buy them retail because, again, once you start buying retail, you get into this pool where you're going to be fighting for deals. So I usually try and sniff out projects or properties that are on the path to development. And then I buy them and slowly develop them. And before I buy them, I usually go and make sure that I can achieve the zoning I need. So I go and do a whole lot of research with the town. I do a whole lot of math on what will happen to servicing. Does this community have servicing for this lot? If we have to put in servicing, how far do we have to run? It takes several years from a buying to get a property just to a place where you get a site plan. It's typical to take 4 or 5 years, sometimes more, depending on the complexity of the project. Once we've got site plan, then we have to do the next hard piece, which is now get to build, and then we start the construction money phase. At that point, we start doing the math on how many units can we build, what kind of rent will we get, what kind of appraisal value does that give us, and based on the appraisal value, we know how much particularly we can raise from a lending institution, whether it's private or CMHC. Sometimes for infrastructure, I can't use CMHC. They're not really ideal for that. They're ideal for, when you're definitely going to build apartments. So sometimes we do a blend. I do infrastructure with a private lender, and in this case, just a nod to First Source there for the support. And then later on, once we've got the infrastructure and we're then putting up the buildings, we do the takeout and do the CMHC construction finance. So it ends up being multi-layered. CMHC is not particularly strong on allowing for infrastructure on its own. If you have infrastructure attached to a building, that works, but it's still tricky because your values don't match up, because the income on the building doesn't really bring you the appraised value to put in the infrastructure. So it's a bit of a hill. Once we've got that, then we start building. And then the building part is just a process. It's like anything, like starting a knitting. You start one end of the project and get to the other end of the project and you just follow the process. And the real magic comes in with getting the properties rented, because once the properties are rented, you now have proved your viability of your project. You now have a project that is worth more than you had assessed it or originally appraised it for, or at least meeting the appraised value of your rental income. We decided to vertically integrate our company because, as a small affordable housing developer, the math for me to go and subcontract all this work would never have made it. We couldn't have made it work. The only way I could make it work was to vertically integrate. So vertically integrate from doing all the planning myself, doing all the raising of the finance myself, having my own construction team, and then property managing myself was the only way we could get the math to work in the beginning days, to get into affordable housing. The dynamics obviously changed a little bit as we've grown. We've got a bigger foothold, we're taking on bigger projects, so I have more latitude. But in the beginning, I pretty much had to shoestring it to make it all work, to get the math to work.